This is the Hierophant, card number 5 of the Tarot's major arcana. The spiritual teacher, the keeper of tradition, the bridge between the divine and the human. And these are two teachers from Dead Poets Society, John Keating, who teaches his students to seize the day and think for themselves, and Headmaster Nolan, who enforces conformity and protects tradition at all costs. Two teachers, two philosophies. One question, who do you follow? The Hierophant represents spiritual authority, tradition, education, and the passing down of wisdom, but he also represents the shadow side of institutions. Dogma, rigid conformity, and the crushing of individuality in the name of tradition. By the end of this video, you'll understand what the Hierophant means when he appears in a reading, what he looks like reversed, and why Dead Poets Society is the perfect demonstration of the choice we all face between authentic guidance and oppressive conformity. Subscribe to Occult Cinema and continue this journey with me through all 22 major arcana cards, each revealed through the language of film. Every card is a movie, every movie is a message. Stay watching, because in Occult Cinema, the screen is the sigil. Let's begin. Understanding the Hierophant card. The Hierophant is card number 5 in the Tarot's major arcana. After the Fool leaps, the Magician manifests, the High Priestess guards mysteries, the Empress creates, and the Emperor builds structure. The Hierophant appears to teach, to pass down wisdom, to initiate us into tradition and community. In Kabbalistic tradition, the Hierophant represents Path 16 on the Tree of Life, connecting Chokmah, wisdom, the masculine creative force, to Chesed, mercy, the principle of expansion and loving kindness. This is the path where wisdom is shared, where knowledge is passed from teacher to student, where the individual is initiated into the collective. The Hierophant corresponds to the Hebrew letter Vav, which means nail or hook, the connector, the link between heaven and earth, between teacher and student, between tradition and the present moment. And he corresponds to the zodiac sign Taurus, ruled by Venus, the sign of stability, tradition, values, and what we hold sacred. Look at the traditional imagery. The Hierophant sits on a throne between two pillars, like the High Priestess. But where the High Priestess guards the veil and keeps secrets, the Hierophant faces outward and teaches openly. He wears a triple crown representing 3 levels of consciousness or 3 worlds. In one hand, he holds a staff with a triple cross. His other hand is raised in blessing, 2 fingers pointing up to heaven, 2 pointing down to earth. As above, so below, but through the lens of tradition and established teaching. At his feet kneel 2 acolytes, 2 students, 2 followers. They represent us, the seekers who come to the teacher for guidance, for initiation into wisdom, for belonging to something greater than ourselves. In his lap or beside him rest 2 crossed keys, 1 gold and 1 silver. These are the keys to heaven, the keys to esoteric knowledge, the keys to the kingdom. The Hierophant holds these keys and decides who may receive them, who is ready for initiation, who can be trusted with sacred knowledge. The Hierophant's core message is this: seek guidance from those who came before, learn from tradition, join the community, follow the established path. There is wisdom in what has been passed down through generations. When the Hierophant appears upright in a reading, he signals a time to seek counsel, to learn from teachers and mentors, to study tradition, to join institutions or communities, to follow established paths. He represents education, spiritual guidance, conformity to group values, marriage and commitment, rituals and ceremonies. The Hierophant says, you don't have to figure everything out alone. There are teachers who can guide you. There is wisdom in tradition. In career readings, the Hierophant means learning from mentors and following established career paths. In relationships, he means commitment, marriage, traditional partnerships. In spirituality, he means seeking spiritual teachers and joining religious or spiritual communities. In education, he means formal learning and respect for teachers. When the Hierophant appears reversed, he reveals the shadow side of tradition and authority. The reversed Hierophant can mean several things. First, dogma and rigid beliefs, tradition that has become oppressive, rules that crush rather than guide, institutions that protect themselves rather than serve their people. Second, false teachers and corrupt authority, the charlatan guru, the hypocritical priest, the teacher who abuses power, the institution that covers up wrongdoing to protect its reputation. Third, rebellion against tradition, questioning authority, breaking with convention, choosing an unorthodox path, rejecting the guidance of institutions. The reversed Hierophant asks, is this tradition serving you or controlling you? Is this teacher guiding you or manipulating you? Is this institution protecting truth or protecting itself? And this is exactly what we see in Dead Poets Society. The film presents us with 2 Hierophants, Keating, who teaches liberation and authentic thinking, and Welton Academy with Headmaster Nolan, who enforces conformity and protects tradition at all costs. And caught between them are the students, the acolytes, who must choose which path to follow. The institution. The film opens with a ceremony. Welton Academy, an elite all-boys prep school in Vermont, 1959. Parents and students gather in the chapel. Candles are lit and passed, symbolizing the light of knowledge being transmitted from one generation to the next. 4 students carry banners representing Welton's 4 pillars: tradition, honor, discipline, excellence. These are the values the institution holds sacred, the principles it passes down, the structure it enforces. But the students have their own name for Welton. They call it Helton, because these 4 pillars, tradition, honor, discipline, excellence, have become a prison. The institution doesn't serve the students. The students serve the institution. This is the Hierophant as institution, as system, as collective authority. Welton represents everything the Hierophant card embodies: tradition, conformity, established paths, initiation into elite society, the passing down of values from one generation to the next. Welton is the best prep school in the United States. It sends its graduates to places like Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. It promises success and elite status. Parents send their sons here because Welton holds the keys to the Ivy League, to prestigious careers, and to the American dream. But there's a cost. Individuality must be sacrificed. Passion must be suppressed. The students are not people, they're products. They're being molded, shaped, conformed to fit a specific template of success. This is the reversed Hierophant beginning to emerge. Tradition that oppresses rather than guides. An institution that crushes the soul in the name of excellence. The keys to success that lock away authenticity. Headmaster Nolan, the traditional Hierophant. Headmaster Nolan is the embodiment of Welton's values. He's stern, authoritative, unyielding. He enforces the 4 pillars without question. He believes in tradition, in discipline, and in the established way of doing things. When Charlie Dalton publishes an article in the school newspaper calling for Welton to admit girls and signs it the Dead Poets Society, Nolan paddles him. Physical punishment for stepping out of line. This is the Hierophant's authority, enforced through pain, through fear, and through the threat of consequences. Nolan represents the traditional Hierophant in his most rigid form. He's not evil. He genuinely believes he's doing what's best for the students. He believes that conformity, discipline, and tradition will lead them to successful lives. He believes the institution knows better than the individual. But when tragedy strikes, when Neil Perry commits suicide, Nolan reveals the true nature of the reversed Hierophant. He doesn't ask what the institution did wrong. He doesn't question whether Welton's pressure contributed to Neil's death. Instead, he looks for someone to blame. And he finds John Keating. Nolan investigates. He pressures students to sign a statement blaming Keating's unorthodox teaching methods for Neil's death. He threatens them with expulsion if they don't comply. He brings in their parents to add pressure, and one by one the students sign. This is the reversed Hierophant protecting the institution at all costs. The system cannot be questioned, the tradition cannot be challenged. If something goes wrong, it must be the fault of the one who didn't conform, the one who taught differently, the one who encouraged students to think for themselves. Keating is fired. Nolan takes over the English class, and the first thing he does is return to the textbook, to the traditional method, to the established curriculum. The unorthodox teacher is expelled and conformity is restored. This is the shadow of the Hierophant, the institution that protects itself rather than its people, the tradition that crushes rather than guides, the authority that demands obedience rather than earning respect. John Keating, the unorthodox Hierophant. John Keating's first class is unlike anything the students have experienced at Welton. He doesn't sit behind a desk. He doesn't lecture from a textbook. He whistles as he walks through the classroom and leads the students out into the hallway. He takes them to a trophy case filled with photographs of former Welton students, boys who graduated decades ago, and he tells them, these boys are now fertilizing daffodils. They're dead. And he leans in close and whispers, Carpe diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. This is the Hierophant's true teaching. You're going to die. Time is limited. Don't waste your life conforming to others' expectations. Find what makes you feel alive and pursue it. In the next class, Keating has the students open their poetry textbooks to the introduction by J. Evans Pritchard, which presents a mathematical formula for rating the quality of poetry. Keating tells them this introduction is excrement, and he has them rip the pages out of their books. This is the unorthodox Hierophant challenging dogma. Poetry cannot be reduced to a formula. Beauty cannot be measured. Art is not about conforming to established standards. It's about authentic expression, about feeling, about being human. Keating stands on his desk and explains, "I stand upon my desk to remind myself that we must constantly look at things in a different way." And he invites each student to stand on the desk, to see the classroom from a new perspective, to understand that there are always other ways of seeing, other ways of thinking, other ways of being. This is the Hierophant as liberator rather than controller. Keating is still a teacher, still passing down wisdom, still initiating students into something greater. But what he's initiating them into is not conformity. It's authenticity, not obedience, but independent thinking, not tradition for tradition's sake, but the courage to question, to explore, to seize the day. The students discover that Keating was once a member of the Dead Poets Society, a secret club that met in a cave beyond school grounds to read poetry and celebrate life. And the boys decide to resurrect it. They sneak out at night, gather in the cave, read Thoreau and Whitman and Shakespeare by candlelight. They create their own ritual, their own tradition, their own community, one based on passion and authenticity rather than conformity and pressure. Keating is the upright Hierophant, the teacher who empowers rather than controls, who guides rather than dictates, who opens doors rather than closing them. He gives his students the keys, not to conventional success, but to authentic life. But Keating also warns them. When Charlie takes his rebellion too far, when he publishes the article that brings unwanted attention to the Dead Poets Society, Keating pulls him aside and says, "Sucking the marrow out of life doesn't mean choking on the bone. There's wisdom in knowing when to push and when to hold back. Freedom doesn't mean recklessness. This is the balanced Hierophant, respecting tradition while questioning it, encouraging freedom while teaching wisdom, empowering students while also protecting them." The Acolytes. In the Hierophant card, 2 acolytes kneel before the teacher. They represent the students, the seekers, the ones who must choose which wisdom to follow, which tradition to embrace, which keys to accept. The students of Welton are these acolytes. And throughout the film, we watch them choose between 2 Hierophants, 2 philosophies, 2 paths. Neil Perry chooses passion. He auditions for a play, gets the role of Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and gives a brilliant performance. He's alive on stage in a way he's never been alive in the classroom. He's found what makes him extraordinary. But his father has other plans: medical school, a respectable career, the traditional path to success. Neil is caught between 2 Hierophants, Keating, who encourages his passion, and his father, who demands conformity. And the pressure destroys him. Knox Overstreet chooses love. He falls for Chris Noel, a girl who's dating someone else. The safe choice would be to give up, to follow the rules, to not make waves. But Knox remembers, carpe diem. He pursues her. He reads poetry to her. He risks rejection and humiliation. And eventually he wins her heart. This is the fruit of Keating's teaching, the courage to pursue what you love. Todd Anderson chooses authenticity. He's painfully shy, living in the shadow of his accomplished older brother. But Keating sees him. In one powerful scene, Keating puts Todd in front of the class, covers his eyes, and has him free associate, creating spontaneous poetry. And Todd discovers he has a voice, he has something to say, he has the power to express himself. This is initiation, not into conformity, but into selfhood. Charlie Dalton chooses rebellion. He takes Keating's teaching to the extreme, publishing the article, calling himself Nuwanda, pushing boundaries. He gets paddled, he gets expelled, but he never betrays his friends. He never signs the statement against Keating. He chooses freedom over safety, authenticity over belonging. And then there's Richard Cameron. Cameron chooses conformity. When the pressure comes, when the institution demands loyalty, Cameron betrays the Dead Poets Society. He tells the administration everything. He gets the other students to sign the statement blaming Keating. He protects himself by sacrificing the teacher who tried to liberate him. Cameron represents the acolyte who chooses the reversed Hierophant, who values safety and success over truth and authenticity, who will always side with the institution because the institution holds the conventional keys to success. The students are choosing, and their choices have consequences. The keys. 2 paths to knowledge. In the Hierophant card, the teacher holds 2 keys, 1 gold, 1 silver. These are the keys to the kingdom, the keys to knowledge, the keys to heaven. The Hierophant decides who receives these keys, who is ready for initiation, who can be trusted with sacred wisdom. In Dead Poets Society, there are 2 sets of keys being offered. Welton offers the keys to conventional success. Graduate with honors. Get into Harvard or Yale, become a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman, make money, achieve status, live a respectable, comfortable life. These are real keys. They open real doors. They lead to real security and real belonging in society. But these keys come with a cost. To receive them, you must conform. You must suppress your individuality. You must sacrifice your passion. You must become what others expect you to be rather than who you truly are. These keys unlock external success but lock away the soul. Keating offers different keys. The keys to authentic life. The keys to passion and meaning. The keys to thinking for yourself, to feeling deeply, and to living deliberately. These keys open the door to extraordinary life, to poetry and beauty and love, to seizing the day and making your existence matter. But these keys are also dangerous. They lead you away from the safe path. They put you in conflict with authority. They make you question everything you've been taught. They can lead to rejection, to failure, and to tragedy. Neil Perry is caught between both sets of keys. His father offers him the conventional keys: medical school, financial security, and respectability. Keating offers him the keys to passion, acting, authentic self-expression, and living for what makes him feel alive. Neil tries to hold both sets of keys. He lies to his father about having permission to be in the play. He performs brilliantly. But when his father discovers the truth and announces that Neil will be pulled from Welton, sent to military school, and then forced into medical school, Neil realizes he can't have both. He must choose. And faced with a life without passion, a life of pure conformity, a life where he must lock away everything that makes him feel alive, Neil chooses a third option. He takes his father's gun and shoots himself. This is the tragedy of the Hierophant card. Sometimes the choice between two paths, between two teachers, between two sets of keys, is unbearable. Sometimes the pressure to conform and the need for authenticity cannot be reconciled, and sometimes that conflict destroys us. The cost of conformity. Neil's performance as Puck is transcendent. He's joyful, alive, and free. For those few hours on stage, he's exactly who he's meant to be. The audience loves him, his friends are proud, even his father watches from the back of the theater. But after the show, his father is stone-faced. In the car, he announces his decision. Neil will be withdrawn from Welton immediately. He'll attend military school for discipline, then he'll go to Harvard and become a doctor. The path is set. There will be no discussion. Neil tries to explain. He tries to tell his father about his passion, about what acting means to him, about who he really is. But his father won't listen. His mother sits silent. The institution of family, like the institution of Welton, demands conformity. The father is the hierophant of the household, and his word is law. That night, Neil goes to his father's study. He takes his father's gun, he puts it to his head, and he pulls the trigger. The institution blames Keating. Headmaster Nolan investigates and decides that Keating's unorthodox teaching methods, his encouragement of passion and individuality, his resurrection of the Dead Poets Society, these are what led to Neil's death. But the film asks us to see deeper. What killed Neil wasn't freedom. What killed Neil was the impossibility of living authentically in a world that demands total conformity. What killed Neil was a father who couldn't see his son, a system that valued success over soul, a tradition so rigid that it left no room for passion. The reversed Hierophant kills not through liberation, but through oppression. Not through encouraging authenticity, but through crushing it. Not through opening doors, but through locking them and throwing away the key. Neil's death is the cost of the reversed Hierophant. The cost of institutions that protect themselves rather than their people. The cost of traditions that value conformity over humanity. And the cost of authority that demands obedience rather than understanding. The betrayal. After Neil's death, Headmaster Nolan launches an investigation. He calls students into his office one by one. He pressures them. He threatens them with expulsion. He brings in their parents to add pressure. Richard Cameron breaks first. He tells Nolan everything about the Dead Poets Society. He explains that Keating was a member when he was a student, that he inspired the boys to resurrect it, that his teaching encouraged them to rebel against authority. Nolan creates a statement. It says that John Keating's methods were responsible for Neil Perry's death, and he makes every member of the Dead Poets Society sign it. The boys resist at first, but the pressure is overwhelming. Their parents are there. Expulsion means no Ivy League. No Ivy League means no future. One by one, they sign. Even Todd, the one who found his voice through Keating's teaching, signs under pressure from his parents. Charlie Dalton refuses. He's already been expelled for punching Cameron after the betrayal. But the others sign. They betray the teacher, who tried to liberate them because the institution gives them no choice. This is the reversed Hierophant in action. The institution protects itself at all costs. The truth doesn't matter. Justice doesn't matter. What matters is that the system survives, that tradition is preserved, that authority is not questioned. Keating is fired. Nolan takes over the English class. He opens the textbook, the same textbook Keating had them rip pages from, and begins teaching the traditional way. The J. Evans Pritchard introduction, the formula for rating poetry, the conformist approach to literature. Everything returns to how it was before Keating arrived. The unorthodox Hierophant is expelled. The traditional Hierophant is restored. The institution has protected itself. Tradition has been preserved. And the students have learned a harsh lesson. The system always wins. Or does it? The lesson. "Oh, Captain, my Captain." In the final scene, Keating returns to the classroom to collect his personal belongings. Nolan is teaching from the textbook. The students sit in their usual seats, silent, defeated. Keating gathers his things. He's about to leave. And then Todd Anderson stands up. He can't hold it in anymore. He shouts, "They made everybody sign it. Mr. Nolan, they made us. You have to believe me, it's not true." Nolan threatens him with expulsion. "Sit down, Mr. Anderson, or you're out of this school." But Todd doesn't sit down. Instead, he climbs onto his desk, and he says the words Keating taught them on the first day of class. "Oh, Captain, my Captain." One by one, other students stand on their desks. Knox Overstreet, Stephen Meeks, Gerard Pitts. More and more, until most of the class is standing on their desks, looking down at Keating, honoring him, choosing him as their Hierophant despite the consequences. Nolan yells at them to sit down. He threatens expulsion, but they don't move. They've made their choice. They're standing on their desks, seeing the world from a different perspective, just as Keating taught them. Richard Cameron stays seated. The conformist, the betrayer, the one who chose the institution over the teacher. He represents those who will always follow the reversed Hierophant, who will always choose safety over truth, who will always protect the system rather than question it. But the others are standing. And Keating, tears in his eyes, says, "Thank you, boys. Thank you." He leaves, but his teaching remains. The institution expelled him, but it couldn't destroy what he gave them. The lesson survives even when the teacher is gone. This is what the Hierophant card teaches us. There are teachers who control and teachers who liberate. There are institutions that serve and institutions that oppress. There are traditions that guide and traditions that crush. When the Hierophant appears upright in your reading, he's asking, who are your teachers? What traditions are you following? Are they serving your growth or controlling you? Seek wise guidance, but think for yourself. Learn from those who came before, but don't be afraid to question. Join communities, but don't lose yourself in conformity. When the Hierophant appears reversed, he's warning, this institution is protecting itself, not you. This teacher is manipulating, not guiding. This tradition is oppressing, not serving. Question the authority. Challenge the dogma. Don't follow blindly. The students of Welton were caught between two Hierophants. One offered conventional success at the cost of the soul. One offered authentic life at the risk of everything. And they had to choose. Neil chose passion, and it destroyed him. But was it passion that killed him? Or was it the impossibility of living authentically in a world that demands conformity? The film suggests the latter. Todd chose his voice and found himself. Knox chose love and won. Charlie chose rebellion and paid the price but kept his integrity. Cameron chose conformity and betrayed everyone. And in the end, most of them stood on their desks and chose their captain, their teacher, their Hierophant. Not the one the institution approved of, but the one who taught them to make their lives extraordinary. The Hierophant holds the keys, but you must choose which keys to accept. The keys to conventional success, or the keys to authentic life. The keys that open doors in the world, or the keys that open doors in your soul. What we do in life echoes in eternity, Maximus told us last week. Keating tells us this week, Carpe diem, seize the day, make your lives extraordinary. The Hierophant is asking, who are you following, and why, and at what cost? Next week, we're looking at card 6, the Lovers. The card of choice, union, and temptation. The card that asks, what do you truly value? What will you choose when faced with two paths? Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Drop a comment. Who was your Hierophant? Who taught you to think for yourself, or who taught you to conform? Remember, seek wise teachers. Question dogma. Stand on your desk. I'll see you next week for the Lovers.